There are moments in life that don't come with fanfare. No thunder, no flashing sign, just a subtle shift. But if you're quiet enough, you'll feel it. Reality rearranging itself, as if something ancient finally said, "Now, you're ready." You may not have known what to call it. That moment when the fog lifted and the path appeared. Not because you tried harder, but because something in you finally softened enough to receive. It doesn't come after effort alone. It arrives after surrender, after the long season of waiting, wandering, wondering. Something shifts, a single thought, a quiet realization, a sign only your soul could recognize. And when it comes, it never feels random. It feels designed, like the universe had been watching silently, its hand resting gently on the pulse of your life, waiting for the exact moment you could hold the truth without breaking. It doesn't rush, it doesn't push, it waits for your stillness. And in that stillness, a doorway opens, not loudly, not with words, but with presence. And suddenly everything that didn't make sense does. The delays, the closed doors, the detours that felt like punishment. Now you see, it wasn't chaos, it was choreography. Because the universe doesn't move on your calendar. It doesn't respond to urgency or demand. It listens to resonance. It waits for you to align, not just in thought, but in frequency. When that happens, when your inner landscape finally becomes fertile, what's been circling you begins to land, not as a reward, but as a reflection of who you've become. That's what most never realize. The right thing can't arrive at the wrong time, and the wrong thing can't stay just because you begged. So many mistake longing for readiness. So many call impatience clarity. But the universe is not moved by panic. It cannot be manipulated by emotional urgency. You can scream, "I'm ready now." But if your vibration says, "I still don't trust," the answer will be gentle silence. Because true timing isn't about dates or clocks. It's about inner coherence. It's about becoming the version of you who can hold the thing you're asking for without dropping it. And sometimes that sacred delay you curse is actually the grace that's saving you. Not rejection, but preparation. You say you want the vision to appear today, but have you become the one who can carry it without collapse? Some answers come too early and scorch, like giving fire to someone who hasn't learned how not to burn. So no, the universe isn't denying you. It's whispering, "Not yet." And that's not punishment, it's protection. They whisper to themselves, "Tomorrow, I'll be different, a little stronger, a little more committed, a little more worthy of the life they envision." But then, the moment they slip, a single missed intention, a crack in will, they throw the day away entirely, as if one misstep means the whole path is gone, as if stumbling means they failed entirely. Yet life is not asking you to be flawless. It's asking you to stay in motion. Even when you limp, even when you falter, forward is still forward. There is more power in a quiet step through the storm than in loud promises that crumble at the first gust of resistance. If every mistake becomes a reason to retreat, then you haven't understood what transformation truly is. Real change isn't clean. It isn't linear. It comes in spirals, with repetition, with discomfort, with recalibration. You are not being punished. You are being refined. Just as a gem is carved by pressure, by friction, by time, you too are being shaped by the very struggles you wish would disappear. What hasn't yet arrived in your life isn't lost. It's simply waiting, waiting for you to become a match to it. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a frequency. The universe does not move in response to hope or desperation or emotion alone. It moves when your entire being, your thoughts, your actions, your energetic state, sing the same quiet song as the thing you've asked for. Until then, it waits, not to punish, but to protect. Because to give you something your current self cannot yet hold wouldn't be grace, it would be cruelty. And the universe is far too wise to place a burden in your hands and call it a blessing. From this knowing, something deeper begins to emerge. The path to transformation is always hidden in the place we least expect, the present moment. Not in the memory, Not in the fantasy, but right here, right now. But most never see it. They look behind them, trying to rewrite a past that cannot be touched. Or they stare ahead, trying to manipulate a future that is yet to be born. Meanwhile, the doorway is quietly open, right beneath their feet. This is where the challenge appears. Not as punishment, but as precision. Because this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, is the only place where anything can truly change. Yet how often we abandon it. One mistake, and we label the whole day a failure. One broken promise to ourselves, and we cast the entire moment aside, whispering the lie, "I'll try again tomorrow." But tomorrow isn't real. It's a story we tell ourselves to delay the courage we owe this moment. And when tomorrow becomes today, we repeat the loop, again and again. What you keep postponing is not your dream. It's your presence, your willingness to meet this moment exactly as it is. Too many treat the now as a waiting room, a holding cell. Somewhere they sit, hoping that life will finally look like what they imagined. But the present isn't punishment. It's the place where your power lives. This moment, the one you often rush past or avoid, isn't empty. It's the workshop, the place where the real work begins, where illusions soften and slowly dissolve, where the masks come off and your essence is asked to rise. When discomfort arrives, when fear whispers, when resistance hardens around your chest, it's not here to crush you. It's not punishment, it's permission. Permission to meet yourself, to witness what still trembles inside and what still longs to be chosen despite the tremble. Each challenge is a mirror, held up gently by the universe, not to shame you, but to ask a single sacred question. Will you stay or will you run again? And your answer matters, not just in this one fragile breath, but in what you train your spirit to believe is possible. Every time you abandon the now, you deepen the lie that transformation lives somewhere else, that your wholeness waits in some future version of yourself that never quite arrives. But the moment you remain, even in the mess, even in the tension, you teach your nervous system something sacred. Your power is not born from perfection, it's born from presence. This is the ancient foolishness Epicurus warned of, to always be beginning to live, but never quite living. To delay aliveness until the timing feels better is to betray the only time where life can ever truly unfold. Here. Now you are not being tested by randomness. There is a delicate intelligence behind it all. The universe does not throw chaos at you like a storm. It calibrates, it fine-tunes, it repeats only what you still haven't yet answered differently. The same themes appear again and again, not to haunt you, but to invite you into a different kind of response. Change doesn't happen when you promise yourself you'll evolve tomorrow. It happens when you meet this breath with honesty, with courage, with stillness, not with grand declarations, but with a quiet shift in how you relate to now. This is the doorway, and it never locks. Even if you've abandoned the moment 1,000 times before, even if you've labeled entire seasons of your life as wasted, the invitation is still here. The universe holds no bitterness. It carries no scorecard. The present remains untouched, always new, always willing to be used. It doesn't demand you be flawless. It only asks that you pay attention. As Marcus Aurelius once said, ask yourself in the heat of the struggle, what in this exact moment is truly unbearable? And when you're honest, you'll often realize the weight isn't in this moment. It's in the story you're telling about it. The mind will tell you it's the world, that the weight is out there, that the pressure is in the task, but the heaviness, it lives within. This is the place where the real work happens. Not in the future, not in theory, but now, always now. When discomfort rises, when fear resurfaces, when resistance whispers its old warnings, these aren't enemies, they are doorways. They don't come to defeat you. They come to reveal you, to reflect you. The challenge becomes a mirror, and the universe gently asks, will you meet this, or will you retreat again? That choice, moment by moment, trains your spirit in what to believe about power, about worthiness, about presence. Each time you abandon the now, You feed the illusion that change waits in the distance, but it never does. It's always been here, quiet, unmoving, waiting for you to arrive. And when you stay, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you feel far from ready, you teach yourself something sacred, that power lives in presence, not in perfection. As Epicurus once warned, foolishness lives in always preparing to live, but never living. Postponing your life for a better time is how a soul forgets its own brilliance. You are not being tested by chaos. The timing of life isn't random. There is a deep intelligence threaded through every challenge you face. Life will bring the same shape to your doorstep again and again, not to punish you, but to ask, will you respond differently this time? Change doesn't require you to become a new person tomorrow. It asks that you meet this moment with more courage than you did yesterday. The shift begins not in declarations of reinvention, but in quiet reconciliation with the now. And the beautiful truth? This is always available. No matter how many times you've walked away, no matter how many days you've labeled failures, the invitation remains. The universe doesn't hold grudges. The moment is always clean, always available, always willing to be used. It doesn't demand a spotless performance. It asks only for your honest attention. Marcus Aurelius once asked, in the heat of this very moment, what is truly unbearable? And often, if you're brave enough to answer, you'll realize the weight was never in this breath, but in the story you wrapped around it. What crushes you is not life. It's the identity you think you must uphold. Because much of your struggle doesn't come from life's events. It comes from the image of who you think you need to be. That image, layered by time, by labels, expectations, and old roles, becomes a silent script. And you follow it, not because it's true, but because it's familiar. And so the universe, in its endless patience, mirrors back the life that image invites, until you are finally willing to release it. Many chase dreams not born from present truth, but from outdated echoes, childhood ideals, societal fantasies, stories borrowed from others that no longer resonate with who you truly are. And yet we keep striving, not because the dream is alive, but because the identity attached to it hasn't been questioned. You were told what a worthy life should look like: a good partner, a successful worker, a respected figure. But these roles are often scripts written by someone else's hand. The universe does not reward identity. It responds to alignment. When you act from the need to impress, to perform, to fulfill a dream that was never yours, you are no longer acting from your essence. You are reacting from your image. And that image is heavy, like stones in your pockets as you try to swim. You blame the water, you curse the current. But the exhaustion is not from the river. It's from what you're still clinging to. To surrender here is not weakness, it is intelligence. To lay down what you no longer are is not to lose yourself. It is to finally become available to what is real. Only then can life meet you where you actually are, not where you pretend to be. The universe does not ask you to prove your worth. It does not require that you earn your place. It simply asks you to be honest, to whisper to yourself, I don't need to be this to be enough. And that is the great undoing, the return to what is essential. So much of what you call you was never chosen. It was absorbed. Ideas about what love should look like, how healing should unfold, when success should arrive. These are not your truths. They are inherited blueprints that have boxed you in. But the universe is boundaryless. It waits patiently for you to let go of the false fences so it can finally show you what's always existed beyond them. And when the false self softens, even for a moment, something sacred emerges. Presence without performance. You begin to float, not because the current changed, but because you stopped fighting it. In that stillness, the universe doesn't need to be convinced. It responds, not to your striving, but to your surrender. And what comes next is not a reward to chase. It's a truth that's been trying to reach you this entire time. When identity loosens, what follows is not frenzy, but stillness. Not the stillness of laziness, but of sacred awareness. When you stop trying so hard to fix yourself, to prove your worth, to chase some far-off vision of what success should look like, something else begins to rise. Not a voice shouting from the heavens, not a neon answer, but something far more ancient, a frequency. The universe doesn't shout over your noise. It waits. It doesn't compete with the storm of your striving. It simply hums beneath it, quietly, patiently, until you finally go still enough to hear. Stillness is not the absence of effort. It is the presence of openness, of receptivity. It's the art of being deeply awake without reaching, without grasping, without needing the next moment to prove anything. In a world obsessed with constant motion, stillness feels unnatural. But it is in this exact quiet that something miraculous begins to happen. Clarity doesn't rush in, it rises, like mist from a lake just before sunrise. Unforced, uncomplicated, undeniably there. And suddenly, you see what had always been waiting for you. The signs were not missing, the answers were not withheld. You were simply too loud inside, too busy moving to notice what had already arrived. So many confuse spiritual growth with nonstop momentum. But true wisdom, it comes in the spaces, the pauses, the silences between the words. Just like a seed doesn't demand the soil to hurry, it waits. It knows there's a timing that belongs to the mystery. Water, light, stillness, and surrender will move it when the moment is right. You don't need to manufacture progress. You don't need to force alignment. You only need to stop resisting what is already unfolding. And what blocks it most is not laziness, but absence. The absence of presence. Stillness allows you to see the patterns, to recognize how the same types of challenges have circled back again and again. Not to torment, but to teach. You begin to witness how your inner narratives have shaped your outer experiences, how the things that felt random were actually orchestrated, not as delay, but as divine precision. You realize nothing was ever missing, only unseen. The universe wasn't silent, it was subtle. It doesn't scream, it sings between the notes. Like a sacred musician, its presence exists in the in-between, in the breaths you skipped, in the pauses you ignored. This is the great paradox. When you stop chasing clarity, clarity comes. When you stop rushing divine timing, timing aligns, and you begin to understand. This was never about control. It was about relationship, not manipulation, but movement, not force, but flow. You don't need to overpower life's rhythm. You only need to listen to it, to soften enough to move with it instead of against it. The universe doesn't need to be pushed. It simply needs permission. It needs your allowing. And that allowing isn't passive. It's an act of profound trust. Stillness is not doing nothing. It is saying, I am no longer chasing. I am listening now, and I am ready to receive. And when stillness has done its quiet work, when the noise of urgency fades and your breath finally deepens, something deeper begins to reveal itself. Divine timing. Not the ticking of man-made clocks, but the sacred rhythm woven into the fabric of the cosmos. It was never random, and you were never forgotten. What arrives in your life does not arrive because you demanded it. It arrives because the moment becomes ripe and you become able to receive. The fruit that falls too early bruises before it can nourish. But when it ripens in season, it sustains the soul. This is how the universe moves, with care, with precision, with deep love. You may believe you've missed your moment, that something precious has passed you by. But truth has no expiration date. What didn't arrive when you begged for it wasn't denied. It was protected, held back in grace until your hands could hold it without trembling. Because breakthrough given too soon can become breakdown. A relationship before wholeness breeds chaos. A dream before faith becomes a burden. So the universe waits, not in silence but in wisdom. Every delay has been a preparation. Every pause a sacred construction of the version of you who could carry what was once only imagined. In time, most look back and see. The pain softened them. The detour led them. The failure revealed their foundation. Life was never working against them. It was working for them. Precisely, deliberately, perfectly. And with that realization, something changes. You stop rushing the roots. You start tending the soil. because now you know. When it's time, nothing can stop what is meant to bloom. You no longer cling to force, you move in flow. Decisions come from intuition, not reaction. Patience becomes a superpower, not a delay. You stop asking, when will it happen? And instead whisper, who am I becoming as I wait? And just like that, the waiting becomes sacred. The universe is no longer something outside of you. It becomes a mirror of your inner clarity, your presence, your becoming. And when the internal aligns, the external unfolds. Not with fireworks, but with the soft certainty of sunrise. Right on time, not a breath early, not a second late. Because what is yours cannot miss you. It will not bypass you. It will only meet you when you're truly able to hold it without resistance, without fear, without forgetting who you truly are. So stay open, stay grounded, and trust the unfolding. The delay is never the denial. It's the devotion of the universe to your becoming. And when the moment is ready, and you are too, the message appears, always galactic. Ready to receive more like this? Subscribe and turn on the bell. The universe might be waiting to speak through the next video. Watch the next message. It's already preparing for you.